I've heard people from different places across the country and some foreign countries, and they can see their own lives or the lives of loved ones through this journey. And this journey is about living with Alzheimer's.
Imagine, if you will, a terrorist organization announcing tomorrow that had a bioweapon that was going to infect 80 million people by 2030. And can you imagine the globe's response to that proposition?
This is a quiet thief in the night that relentlessly robs from the patient the sense of identity, personality, and ultimately the very essence of self. If we don't do anything by 2050, minimally 14 million patients in this country, it will single-handedly wipe out our healthcare system.
There were millions of people who are undiagnosed, who are walking around on the path to Alzheimer's.
Anyone who's ever chatted with Greg knows that that's a real conversation, and it's heart to heart, and it's soul bared, and it's funny, and it's irreverent, and it's loving, and just brutally honest.
I believe that God, first of all, has a sense of humor, and God will talk to you in language that you just understand. Okay, now I lost my train of thought.
Oh,
Have we met before? Greg O'Brien, damn pleased to meet you.
Good to meet you, Greg.
Alzheimer's, it's like having a sliver of your brain shaved every day. And every day is a fight for me. And
I put a stake in the ground as a journalist and said, we're going to start to talk about it.
What about the kids? Alzheimer's is about the kids. It's about your kids, my grandchildren, and your grandchildren. And that's why we have to marshal the forces to bring this out into the public, to bring Alzheimer's out of the closet into the public like we did cancer and AIDS.
I feel right now, and I know others in this journey feel, that we have one foot in the next realm and one foot here. And I'm just waiting for the Lord to pull me over to the next realm. And he keeps saying, not yet. I go, well, how about today? Not yet. We're not done.
A clinical trial is part of the solution that we're all looking for, and it's not somebody else's responsibility. It's ours, in our community.
It's very important for minorities because everybody is different. Everybody's genetically different.
We need more people from more diverse backgrounds. A good reason for the African American culture to participate in the clinical trials, we're the #1 culture to be affected by it.
The fact that we are at such a low level of black participation is something that we've got to constantly raise and rally around in our community. If people were excluding us from the clinical trial, we'd be marching. But why are we not marching to the clinical trials?
GAP is proud of our efforts to keep BioHermes, our sponsored study, open until at least 20% of the participants are those that identify as Black African American or Hispanic Latino. We are doing this through a multifaceted approach focused on awareness, knowledge, and access.
Good evening and welcome to the 8th annual Trish Vradenburg Gala. I'm George Vradenburg, chairman and co-founder of Us Against Alzheimer, and this is my dog, Kiddo. I had hoped we could be together in person this year, yet second best, Kiddo and I are happy to invite you into our home tonight. As you can tell, this is live television. Trish, Kiddo, and I loved entertaining here, so I'm pleased to be in our home joining all of you in your homes virtually. Kiddo, we'll see you later. What a year it's been, a turning point year, a dramatic year. The year the FDA approved the first Alzheimer's disease modifying medicine. And it looks like more are on the way from Eisai, from Roche, from Lilly. But our work never stops. We are now focused on ensuring that patients can afford and access these drugs. Tonight, we pause and take a moment to celebrate the progress being made and the work that remains, work we're able to do thanks to you. First, we must continue to catalyze innovation and drive the creation of more medicines that attack different aspects of this disease. We can't stop with just one. Second, we must empower everyone to keep their brain healthy. You'll hear about the Be Brain Powerful campaign and Brain Guide, our groundbreaking platform for families seeking answers about their brain health. Third, we must advance health equity. You'll hear from the people who are working to ensure that health solutions really are solutions for everyone. Fourth, we must amplify the voices of people with Alzheimer's and their families. You'll hear about the important work we do to advocate for what matters most to patients and their families. Tonight, as we celebrate our progress, we're also reflecting on the life and legacy of a very dear friend and treasured board member, Marilyn Glosserman. Just last weekend, Marilyn passed away after a battle with cancer. We feel her loss deeply across our organization. Marilyn was a tremendous champion of our cause, a generous board member, and an energetic host of this gala. She spurred our nationwide campaign on brain health. We are proud tonight to dedicate this night to her. With that love of Marilyn in mind, let's get started. We have a great agenda tonight with a few surprise guests, not just a few, many. So grab a drink, hug your family and friends, and enjoy the evening. And use the chat to let us know where you are tonight and what you think of our work. Speaking of surprise guests, many of you knew my late wife, Trish, after whom this gala is named. Trish was a humorist, a writer of sitcoms, one of which was Designing Women. So I'm delighted to introduce her longtime friend, one of the stars of Designing Women, and a recent Emmy winner for her new TV show, Hacks. Our first guest, the wickedly funny and thoughtful Jean Smart.
Hi, Jean Smart here. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak this evening. I'm sorry I can't be with you all in person, but I am very happy to be here honoring the memory of my friend Trish and also the memory of my beloved father, Doug Smart, who we lost to Alzheimer's in 2003. He was a public high school teacher his entire career, and he was so bright and so physically healthy. I always thought he'd live to be 100 and die in his sleep, but it wasn't to be. One thing I'm encouraged by is the treatment of this disease by the entertainment industry. They have told some incredible stories and helped remove the stigma surrounding the disease, and also helped tell the stories of the caregivers and the incredible toll it takes on them. Also, there's very exciting research being done all over the world. I mean, we are close. We are getting close, but the research needs continued light shown upon it, continued financial support. And I do believe we will find a cure soon. And wouldn't it be exciting if tonight we raised enough money that you could say, I was there. I was there. I was there that night, and we helped fund the breakthrough. So I thank you all for your generosity and your support. We will all benefit from the research going into finding a cure for this cruel disease. Again, I thank you and enjoy the evening.
Thanks, Jean. You heard her. Let's let tonight be the night we raise more of the funds we need to stop this disease. I hope you'll consider making a gift. As all of you know, I cover the overhead of this organization, so all of your donations go directly to the programs that you're going to hear about tonight. Jean Smart is just the first of our special guests. Stay with us because you don't want to miss them, including Seth and Lauren Rogan, Josh Henkin, Lisa Genova, and Mr. Saturday Night, Billy Crystal. I'd like to introduce our three MCs for the evening. Jill Lesser, here in DC, our board member, Meryl Comer. Jill is the president of Women Against Alzheimer's. Meryl is a co-founder of Us Against Alzheimer's. And in keeping with our special guest theme, our third MC, live from our West Coast studio in Hollywood, Lisa Gibbons. You may know Lisa from her time as the host of Entertainment Tonight, her career as a broadcaster, or her New York Times best-selling book on Alzheimer's caregiving. She's also a huge partner in our work. So I'm thrilled to welcome her here tonight. Lisa, thank you for being with us. Please take it away.
I sure will. George, thank you so much. Really happy to be here direct from the West Coast. Welcome everyone joining us tonight. George, you know, I love you. I love the whole team there. And of course, all the great work that's going on with Us Against Alzheimer's. Really proud and excited to be joining you from California. So we're all set out here. We're ready to join with this incredible movement to conquer Alzheimer's. But here's the deal, everybody. To conquer Alzheimer's, first, we have to be able to detect and diagnose it quickly and do it accurately. And right now, detection and diagnosis happens way too late for far too many people. And the stats on this are really alarming. 25 to 40% of people over the age of 65 actually have some form of cognitive impairment. Yet 60 to 80% of these cases go unnoticed. In fact, less than a third of seniors have ever even been assessed for cognitive problems. And in 70% of the cases, it's actually the person with the cognitive decline or the family member who starts that brain health discussion with the doctor. This is not okay. I've seen this firsthand in my own experiences with Alzheimer's and in the millions of families like ours. People really don't know where to go to look for answers. And we're up against a lot of stigma and fear. And even though we worry about the changes in our own memory or of a loved one, taking that first step can feel really difficult. It can feel frightening. But the first step is always the most important one. And that's why I am really excited right now to tell you about something I think is one of the most helpful and groundbreaking tools we have had so far. It's called Brain Guide from Us Against Alzheimer's. And at Lisa's Care Connection, our nonprofit where we support family caregivers, we often find this is the most powerful step you can take on a brain health journey for yourself or for a loved one. It's a simple tech platform. It makes it easy for you to take that first step. And a lot of people are doing it. Since its launch in March, Brain Guide has already helped more than 150,000 families to find answers. So I want you to watch this. You'll see why.
Are you worried about your memory and brain health? Do you have concerns about a loved one? Us Against Alzheimer's can help. Brain Guide is a free platform that provides you with knowledge and resources to take the best next steps in managing your own or a loved one's brain health. Brain Guide includes confidential memory questionnaires that can be taken over the phone or online in English or Spanish. If you have memory concerns for yourself or are noticing changes to your thinking or memory, you can take a self-administered questionnaire. If you have concerns about a loved one's memory, you can take a questionnaire for someone in your life that you see often. When you are done, we send you tailored resources based on the answers you gave us, and you have the option to print a summary for your doctor. Brain Guide is not intended to diagnose or make treatment recommendations regarding Alzheimer's or any other disease. First steps can be tough, but just one small step now can help you take every step that follows with confidence. Visit mybrainguide.org or call 855-BRAIN-411 to learn more.
Brain Guide is about empowerment, fairness, and healthcare equity, making medical information accessible in as many ways as possible and to as many people as possible. By making this platform free, we remove the cost barrier for underserved communities. By making this platform accessible through both an internet and phone connection, we're getting critical information to disenfranchised communities. And we know access is just as important as improving healthcare as cost and quality.
Early detection will be key in the future to addressing the rising incidence of Alzheimer's disease in Latino populations and other communities of color. Brain Guide is an easy-to-use tool available in both English and Spanish. As a result, I think it really will make a difference in placing resources at the hands of patients and their families to take the first step in learning about their own memory health.
The key to diagnosing or to treating Alzheimer's disease, in my personal opinion, is early diagnosis. The longer you wait with the question of whether or not you have Alzheimer's disease or any kind of a memory problem or dementia, the harder it will be to manage that disease. And the way to do that is to be able to figure out, what is going on and what do you do next. And that's what Brain Guide does. It gives you something actually in your hand, if you choose to print it, to actually bring to your physician, because the key is to not delay your evaluation.
I was diagnosed in 2014 with early onset Alzheimer's. I am the third generation in my family with Alzheimer's. My mom died 4 years ago with it, and my aunt died 5 years ago. I wish I had had Brain Guide back when I was being diagnosed, because I was having problems and couldn't quite understand what it was. I wanted to contribute it to just getting old, but when I look at the Brain Guide questionnaire, it really specifically addresses where you are in your journey. It's very helpful to have that to give to your neurologist or your doctor, and then you can proceed on to find ways of coping and dealing with it.
I believe Brain Guide is a phenomenal resource. It just has everything in one place. I love that. You can get information about what to expect along the journey, and that's so helpful for caregivers.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be back on this stage, well, in George's living room, and sharing with all of you again this year. I am in year 14 as an Alzheimer's caregiver for my mother, and it never gets easier. Despite that, and despite the pandemic, I am filled with hope. Tonight, we want to hear from you as much as you want to hear from us. Over this past year, what's given you hope? What's kept you going? Let us know in the chat. You just heard about Brain Guide. One of the things about it is that we wanted everyone with questions about their brain health to be able to use this tool. As you heard throughout the video, that's why we chose to launch it for free, in English and in Spanish, available both online and over the phone, and running 24 hours a day. It's part of the deep commitment to health equity that has guided us against Alzheimer's since the beginning. It's part of our DNA. Women Against Alzheimer's, African Americans Against Alzheimer's, and Latinos Against Alzheimer's have advocated for these communities ever since our formation. And there's so much work still to be done. Women are still twice as likely to have Alzheimer's disease, and they make up 2/3 of the country's caregivers. African Americans also remain twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's as Caucasians, and Latinos are 1.5 times as likely. This is absolutely unacceptable. But Brain Guide is a step. It's just one part of our work in this area. About a year ago, Us Against Alzheimer's created the Center for Brain Health Equity with the Centers for Disease Control. Our first project is with the National Association of Hispanic Nurses, the National Black Nurses Association, and Alzheimer's Los Angeles. Let's hear from the leaders and advocates who are making this work happen.
Thank you, Us Against Alzheimer's, for your consistent inclusion and consideration of nurses in the main pillars of your work and initiatives focused on early intervention, health equity, and access that is particularly important for historically marginalized communities. The Center for Brain Health Equity reflects our organization's long-term commitment and mission to improve the health of Latinos throughout the country.
The National Black Nurses Association has over 200,000 professional nurses, LPNs, and nursing students, and really advocates for the African American community and healthcare disparities. And the partnership between the two of us has been phenomenal. Together, we can have an empowered voice to really change things.
AARP is pleased to partner with Us Against Alzheimer's as we both advocate for equitable care policies that cover and support not just those living with Alzheimer's and other related dementias, but their family caregivers. It is critical that care policies such as paid family leave are enacted to better support these family caregivers that, given no other opportunity, may end up having to choose between caring for the person that they love or their job.
Us Against Alzheimer's has helped to drive impact in our local community based on their innovation and support. This partnership is, I call it a movement in that there is always an ongoing effort to make sure that these communities are served in excellence.
I want to thank each of these partners for being in this fight as being the part of us in Us Against Alzheimer's. And I want to thank you for being part of the us as well. Your support is what makes this work possible. Speaking of that, can you find the donate button on your computer screen or take out your phones and text 202-873-8144 and type powerful, whatever pledge amount that you feel like giving, and your name. Those directions are on your screen right now. And thank you in advance for taking a moment to make a gift. Because once again, we cannot do this without you. And we cannot do this work without the support of tonight's sponsors. Let's hear from one of them, Acadia.
Hello, my name is Bill Keller with Acadia Pharmaceuticals, and we would like to welcome you to the Trish Vradenburg Annual Gala. At Acadia, our mission is to elevate life through science, and we are very proud of the collaborations and partnership we have had with Us Against Alzheimer's over the years. In particular, this past year, we're very honored to see work we collaborated on published to elevate the voice of caregivers and people living with dementia who experience behavioral symptoms. We also are very honored to see the launch of Brain Guide, an outstanding new resource that's serving the community to provide education, resources, and support for those living with or supporting a loved one with dementia. So we hope you will enjoy this evening's event, and we look forward to many future years of collaboration. Thank you.
As we discussed at the National Alzheimer's Summit earlier today, Alzheimer's-friendly policy and policies are critical to the progress against Alzheimer's. This is a long-standing focus of our work, which when we started in 2010. We're proud of the funding increases and other policy changes we've been able to achieve over the last decade. Every year at this gala, we recognize a congressional leader who is championing these priorities. I'm pleased to have Ken Zaintz from Alzheimer's New Jersey with us tonight to announce this year's honoree.
Good evening. I'm Ken Zaintz, President and CEO of Alzheimer's New Jersey. I was honored when Us Against Alzheimer's asked me to introduce Senator Bob Menendez as this year's recipient of the Us Against Alzheimer's Congressional Champion Award. I can't think of a more deserving recipient. When I first heard then Congressman Menendez speak, he didn't focus on politics or his accomplishments. He spoke instead about being the son of a mother with Alzheimer's disease and the emotions he and his sister experienced caring for their mother, Evangelina. His remarks connected with every caregiver at our event that evening. We knew that New Jersey and our nation had a powerful advocate and leader to represent families impacted by Alzheimer's disease. Those who can't speak for themselves, those who have been overlooked and marginalized for too long, a champion of the Change Act, and a powerful voice pushing for diversity in clinical trials. His proposed legislation, the DIVERSE Act, calls for education, outreach, and recruitment for clinical trials for diseases with disproportionate impact on underrepresented populations, diseases such as Alzheimer's. Having the leadership of Senator Menendez for the movement to end Alzheimer's is something we can all celebrate. It is my pleasure to introduce the Us Against Alzheimer's 2021 Congressional Champion, Senator Bob Menendez.
Hello, I'm Senator Bob Menendez, and I want to thank George Vradenburg and the entire team with Us Against Alzheimer's for your relentless advocacy on behalf of patients and families affected by this tragic disease. It's a real honor to be recognized with the Us Against Alzheimer's Congressional Champion Award, not just because of the urgency you have brought to our collective fight against Alzheimer's, but because of how personal this issue is to me. My mother suffered from Alzheimer's disease for 18 years before it claimed her life just over a decade ago. She was a strong, courageous woman. She fled Cuba and came to America to give her children a better life, a life of freedom and opportunity. She believed in the promise of this country, and indeed, only in America could an immigrant who worked as a seamstress on a factory floor live to see her son walk the halls of the Congress of the United States. My mother lived a good life, but in the end, Alzheimer's left her with no memory of the life she lived. So I know firsthand what it's like to experience this long and heartbreaking goodbye. I know about the intergenerational challenges that confront Americans caring for their ailing parents and grandparents. I know the extraordinary physical and emotional demands placed on the 14 million people across America serving as caregivers for someone with dementia. And I know that in the coming years, as the population of the United States grows older, the number of Americans diagnosed with Alzheimer's will grow with it. Today, 6.2 million people across America live with this disease. But by 2050, that number is projected to grow to 14 million. The direct financial costs of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias will also continue to increase exponentially and are projected to reach $1.1 trillion by 2050. So we have both a moral and economic imperative to accelerate the battle against this disease. Us Against Alzheimer's has been at the forefront of this fight. Together, we've made a great deal of progress over the past decade. Back in 2010, we spent less than $500 million annually on Alzheimer's research. This year, we will devote more than $3 billion in federal funding to discover treatments and therapies for this disease. Us Against Alzheimer's input was also essential as my colleagues and I drafted and introduced the Change Act into the United States Senate, a bicameral, bipartisan piece of legislation that will improve early detection and diagnosis of Alzheimer's. It's long past time we acted to address the stunning number of Alzheimer cases that go unrecognized and undetected each and every year. I also appreciate Us Against Alzheimer's commitment to alleviating the disparate impact this disease has on women and minorities. For years now, I've called on pharmaceutical companies and research partners to do more to improve the diversity of participants in their clinical trials. And this year, I introduced the Diverse Trials Act, another bipartisan bill that will help improve outreach to minority communities about clinical trial opportunities. We must ensure that the therapies and treatments of tomorrow are both effective and accessible to Americans of all backgrounds. I'm proud of my strong working relationship with Us Against Alzheimer's. From the expertise of your staff to the generosity of your supporters to the boldness of your initiatives, you have truly raised the bar for advocacy around Alzheimer's disease. It's an honor to be recognized with this award and a privilege to work with you in the fight against a heartbreaking disease that brings so much pain and uncertainty to so many people around the world. Thank you, and keep up the good work. Bless.
Thank you again to Senator Menendez for his leadership. I'm Errol Comer, one of the original four. If you asked us, and if we knew then what we know now, would we still do it? We would all say yes, it's worth the fight. So what matters most in the fight against Alzheimer's? It all depends on whom you ask. It's hard to comprehend the reality of the disease until you or a loved one has been handed the diagnosis and living with it, or caring for a family member who has long forgotten your name. Too many families like ours have been on that journey, and we all have stories to tell, but we need to be heard to accelerate research and inform high-level decisions about treatments, coverage, and policy. And that's why 5 years ago, we launched the A-List. Today, we have a virtual research-ready cohort of over 10,000 people living with Alzheimer's, their care partners, as well as healthy adults interested in brain health. Our 5th anniversary of A-List, I am incredibly proud of our team, our thriving online community, and what together we've achieved.
The A-List is valuable to research, to my research, because I believe that researching the authentic voice of the person living with dementia and the caregiver, care partner, is really powerful in understanding any burden that is experienced and understanding what the needs are and how to address issues that they may face. We cannot give best care without understanding that, especially without understanding the unique needs of a diverse population. And the A-List is doing this. This is why I will continue to partner with the A-List so the voice of my community will be heard.
I'm Jerry Taylor, and I'm living with Alzheimer's.
Hi, I'm Jim Taylor, and I'm Jerry's husband and care partner. We're not clinicians or physicians, but we believe that it's important that every voice be heard in the fight against Alzheimer's. We're particularly happy to participate in A-List surveys because the surveys deal with questions that are important and vital to us, including COVID's impact on caregiving and what are the restraints to participating in clinical trials. These are all issues that Jerry and I are very much concerned about, and we're very grateful to have A-List helping us deal with these issues.
Hello, my name is Martha Villanegro Santiago, and I'm a care provider for my mother living with Alzheimer's. Being a part of the A-List, I feel empowered knowing that my opinions are being heard by Alzheimer's researchers and policymakers. The A-List gives increased purpose and meaning to my journey.
I was a caregiver for my mother who just passed from her battle with Alzheimer's last year in October. The A-List has contributed to a growing body of research on the lived experience and what matters most to people like me and you, people who are living with dementia and or caring for a loved one. Seeing how this research is making a difference and how my personal experience is translated into research inspired me to fund the A-List program and to further its impact. In celebration of the 5-year anniversary and the work to be done in the next 5 years, please join me in supporting the Us Against Alzheimer's A-List. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the A-List voices. We hope those of you tuning in can use the donate button on your screen or by texting POWERFUL using the directions that are at the bottom of the screen. Later in the hour, we're going to hear more from our special celebrity guests, including Billy Crystal, among others. First, let's hear from another of tonight's sponsors, Eisai.
Hello, I'm Ivan Xiang, Chairman of Eisai Inc., and we are honored to join all of you virtually to support the 2021 Trish Vradenburg Gala as we celebrate the significant achievements that have been made within the Alzheimer's community this past year. We also want to congratulate Biogen on receiving the Corporate Champion Award. On behalf of Eisai, in the US and around the world, we thank you for your exceptional accomplishments in helping to improve the lives of those impacted by Alzheimer's and stand committed to supporting those living with this devastating disease lead healthier and more fulfilling lives.
I want to thank those institutions that make our work possible, especially those who've sponsored our National Alzheimer's Summit and this evening's gala. These companies are deeply committed to this fight and invest resources to help us create and deliver programs and initiatives with high impact to patients. They are our partners in these endeavors, and I'm proud to thank them here. Our premier sponsors, Acadia, Eisai, Otsuka, and Biogen. Our platinum sponsors, Genentech and Home Instead. And our gold and silver level sponsors, thank you all. Over the past decade, Us Against Alzheimer's has worked aggressively to end this damn disease. We've had many collaborators and partners throughout the decade, and we're grateful for all of those who have locked arms, shared resources, and been part of the us who formed the movement to end Alzheimer's. Biogen stood with the Alzheimer's patient community when some companies became discouraged and left the fight. They put Alzheimer's at the top of their priority list. And Biogen has supported our work in advancing brain health and health equity, including as a sponsor of Brain Guide. Their commitment and continued research led to the first disease-modifying drug for Alzheimer's in history. The approval of Biogen's Aduhelm in June was a breakthrough moment in the history of the long fight against Alzheimer's. And that approval is already having an effect on innovation throughout the field, sparking new research, new investments, and potential new treatments, and all of that to the benefit of families fighting this disease. Us Against Alzheimer's is proud to recognize Biogen's commitment to Alzheimer's, its strong and consistent support of the patient community, and its record as an innovator and leader with our Corporate Champion Award. It's a pleasure to welcome the CEO of Biogen, Michel Vounatsos, here live in my home. Welcome, Michel. Thank you for being here. Congratulations. And thank you for all of your work.
Thank you, George, for your leadership. Thank you, George. And from everyone at Biogen, I am absolutely humbled and honored to accept this year's Corporate Champion Award and to be included with tonight's distinguished honorees, Dr. Satcher and Senator Menendez. But I must turn the recognition back to all of you in the audience tonight. You are the true champions, those who are bringing passion and commitment to the battle against Alzheimer's. Us Against Alzheimer's elevates the battle against this terrible disease, bringing Alzheimer's out of the shadows, rallying public officials to this cause, and demanding that Alzheimer's receives the investment and attention it deserves. The focus on the patients inspires and motivates the scientific community. These patients' and caregivers' voice speak loudly to our scientists and researchers. For over a decade, Biogen has worked closely with Alzheimer's community to advance our scientific understanding, learn how the disease impacts all those it touches, and pursue treatments that can change lives. And this year brought a milestone in our common struggle against Alzheimer's, the accelerated approval of Aduhelm by the US Food and Drug Administration. Aduhelm is the first treatment, the only one to address a defining pathology of this disease to date. Biogen is moving ahead following this approval by working with CMS, by working with physicians and policymakers, and with patient advocacy organizations like Us Against Alzheimer's, and also by presenting more data about this treatment. The journey has been a long one, and we still have much to do in terms of access, in terms of diversity and inclusion, but also in terms of further innovation. Collectively, there are steps to take to advance the standard of care for this disease and how patients and caregivers can access treatment. For me, the focus and the motivation always comes back to patients and their families. They deserve to make the choice. I was so glad to hear that Jim Taylor, a relentless advocate with his wife Jerry, is here at the Gala tonight. Thank you all that you do for people living with Alzheimer's. As I reflect more on what this award means tonight and what responsibilities comes with it, I would like us all to remember the need for equitable access and culturally competent care in underserved communities. We know that African Americans are twice as likely to develop this disease. Latinx patients are 1.5 times more likely. Biogen is engaged in work that aims to ensure everyone is included when it comes to treatment for Alzheimer's. We are supporting equitable access to testing and diagnosis, to providing screening, detection, and financial assistance. We are also moving as quickly as science allows to broaden diversity across our clinical studies, including studies to confirm the benefits of Aduhelm. So many of our initiatives are fully aligned with what Us Against Alzheimer's has long championed: access and equity. With all these efforts, the goal is singular and simple: to bring hope to people living with Alzheimer's disease, to their families and their caregivers. And there are so many good reasons for hope. Let me end tonight with applauding the future we are all striving to achieve. A future, as Us Against Alzheimer's says, where no one is lost to Alzheimer's. On behalf of everyone at Biogen, thank you.
Michelle, gives me great honor and pleasure to award you with the 2021 Corporate Champion Award to Biogen for all your efforts in bringing innovation to patients.
Thank you and appreciation to Us Against Alzheimer's. Thank you for your leadership again, you and your team.
Good to see you here tonight. Jill.
Thank you, George. Michelle, thank you for being here tonight and for your work to bring hope to families around the world, including mine. Now I'd like to take a minute to raise a glass of brain-healthy red wine, which I have to get. So give me a moment. I'll be right back. To recognize our co-chairs and leadership council members: Sigrid at Vintage Surf, Maddie and Ken Dykewald, Carol Brown Goldberg and Hank Goldberg, Arlene and Robert Kogod, Marion and Robert Rosenthal Family Foundation, Karen and Chris Siegel, George Vradenburg, and Judy and Leo Zickler. I'd also like to recognize our champion and advocate level donors. And I'd like to thank the host committee members, everyone who had hoped, like I had, that we'd be sitting at tables together tonight. We are not sitting together, but I know that you're standing by us and with us today and every day. I have so much appreciation for each of you and what your generosity puts into place so we can advance the movement to end Alzheimer's. And my most heartfelt and eternal love goes to the woman who partnered with me year after year and pushed us to be better, to do more, to aim higher with so much joy and grace and vision, Marilyn Glosserman. Everyone who met Marilyn knew she had an incredible zest for life, an impatient energy, not only to find a way to stop Alzheimer's, but to look for new ways to prevent the disease from hitting even one more family. As you will soon see on your screen, we had a lot of fun together over the years. I'm so sorry that Marilyn isn't here to see all that she started come to fruition, but she is always with us, and she is always with me. For tonight, we've asked a friend of hers to introduce our next segment with Marilyn in mind.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Hyman, and I'm really thrilled to be with you all on this very special occasion. I'm an expert in functional medicine, which is the science of creating health with a holistic, person-centered approach. And I'm really proud to introduce the next program priority, which is the early intervention and prevention of Alzheimer's disease. When the team at Us Against Alzheimer's invited me to introduce this topic, I jumped at the chance for 3 reasons. First, I've long believed that prevention is possible. But we have to empower people to understand the role of nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, and other factors. As I often tell people, food isn't like medicine, it actually is medicine. Second, I've been so inspired by the work that Us Against Alzheimer's is leading in the area of brain health and risk reduction. Your team is making progress at every level, driving clinical practice and improved education for providers, promoting brain health challenges with consumers, and engaging in policy work to make prevention a national priority. And third, I'm pleased to work with many incredible people who've made this progress possible. One of these leaders is Marilyn Glosserman, who was a board member at Us Against Alzheimer's. I'm here tonight because of Marilyn. She first introduced me to Us Against Alzheimer's, and I think she actually may have been one of the first people to sign up for my newsletter and writings about brain health. For more than 5 years, Marilyn was a tireless support of brain health. Before it was in vogue, she was advancing and advocating to anyone who would listen, and I have it on good authority that it was Marilyn who championed brain health within Us Against Alzheimer's. She stepped up and worked with leadership to bring this program to fruition. Please join me in honoring Marilyn for this dedication. Her impact can be felt by hundreds of thousands of people. Now let's see how Us Against Alzheimer's is putting Marilyn's inspiration into action.
When it comes to brain health and healthy aging, these things aren't just things that happen to us. These are aspects that we can take action in. Cooking healthier foods, spending time outside, volunteering, working, whatever it may be. These can all be a part of how we approach brain health and healthy aging. And it serves to change policymakers' views about how they think about aging, away from dementia is inevitable to there are things I can do.
We have to all work together on our chronic diseases because this nation has never invested in prevention. If we don't invest in prevention for every one of these chronic diseases and lifestyle health, we're not going to improve the outcomes for these chronic diseases, and we're not going to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's.
I want to know everything I can do to prevent having dementia for me and other of my loved ones. And through this big platform of Us Against Alzheimer's, we're able to share all the information that we gain. We are working really hard and appreciate the collaboration of Us Against Alzheimer's, especially in the role of the prevention goal, which is very exciting. We must invest in prevention if we're really going to cure Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease will bankrupt our country in terms of Medicare and Medicaid costs. And this is true globally. So it's so important for us to work on prevention goals.
We want to work to empower people. We want them to live healthier, happier, more connected lives. And I know that Us Against Alzheimer's wants to do that, and so does Silver Sneakers. And we love that can-do kind of bias for execution and changing policy, advancing innovation in ways that can really help our sick care system move into a true healthcare system.
There is nothing better for your brain health than laughter. I hope you can take a few minutes and spark some laughter with your family tonight. And also stay tuned because actor, producer, and director Billy Crystal is coming up soon, and you don't want to miss it. If you don't know how or where to start doing something for your brain health, you should join us. Our 30-day brain health challenge, part of our Be Brain Powerful campaign, is a go-to resource for women and the people who love them, who want to protect their brains and reduce their risk of Alzheimer's. Let's hear from some of our brain power champions now.
I think ultimately it means knowing that we can take charge of our health, that we are truly in control and have choice in how we're going to age, including all facets of ourselves, and especially those big, beautiful brains we all have. It also means to me empowering other women in my life to do the same, especially my daughter Amelia, who's 11, and my mama. I want to continue to be a great role model for women everywhere in how we take care of ourselves.
Being brain powerful makes me feel powerful. So what do I do to keep my brain healthy? I make sure to take a walk. So even here in New York City, where I have the opportunity to ride the subway, instead, I put on my tennis shoes and I walk between meetings and between my hotel and the conference center. Those extra steps are good for my brain and they're good for me.
As an African-American woman, I'm very concerned about brain health. I'm very aware of the disproportionate impact it has on my community. I think that the Be Brain Powerful campaign is a wonderful tool that can be used to educate the community, all communities, about risk factors, prevention opportunities, as well as treatment.
Being open to awe and gratitude is the first strategy that we both try to employ. Whether it's our spouses, our families, our pets, we embrace what is wonderful.
Something that I do to keep my brain healthy is exercise. I try to exercise at least 5 days a week and switch it up between cardio, strength, yoga. All of that I know is good for my brain. It's important to me to be brain powerful because as a female, we're at higher risk of cognitive impairment later in life. And these are some things that I can do in my early years to protect my brain health down the road.
Is donating good for the brain? Well, seeing everyone's generosity makes my heart feel good, and what's good for the heart is good for the brain. Please take a moment to make a gift by texting POWERFUL to 202-873-8144. Instructions are at the bottom of the screen. And while you give, let's hear from one more sponsor, Biogen.
Hello, my name is Deb Glasser, and I'm the head of the U.S. Alzheimer's franchise at Biogen. We are proud and honored to be a sponsor for the 8th annual Trish Vradenburg Gala. Thank you to our friends and colleagues at Us Against Alzheimer's. Thank you for all you do in the fight against this disease. Your incredible work promoting early detection, intervention, championing health equity, advocating for increased research funding, and fighting for policy change. You do this while constantly keeping the patient and caregiver front and center. On behalf of the team at Biogen, we could not be more proud to support your mission and work alongside you. Lastly, I want to extend a warm welcome to all of the guests in attendance tonight. It will take all of us working together to address a complex health challenge like Alzheimer's disease. None of us can do it alone. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Welcome to Trish and George's library, filled with memories of graduations, weddings, photos of 4 precious grandchildren. A shout out to May, Gavin, Skylar, and Harrison. Your Gala loved you so much. Tonight's Be Learner Valor Award is very personal because it was dedicated to Trish's mother, who she lost to Alzheimer's, but she always talked about her as being powerful, embracing life with style, grace, and guts. The same was true for our Trish. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Marie Bernard. She is Chief Officer of the Scientific Workforce Diversity at the National Institute of Health, who will introduce tonight's awardee.
I'm honored to have the privilege of introducing Dr. David Satcher, this year's winner of the Be Learner Valor Award. This award is given annually to a person living with dementia or a caregiver who has shown her same determination, fearlessness, hope, and humor in our shared fight against Alzheimer's. Thus, Dr. Satcher is a natural to receive this award. Dr. David Satcher is a physician scientist and public health administrator with an unparalleled track record of leadership, research, and community engagement. He is founder and senior advisor of the Satcher Health Leadership Institute at the Morehouse School of Medicine. He served as the 16th Surgeon General of the United States and as Assistant Secretary for Health in the Department of Health and Human Services. He also served as Director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Administrator of the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. I have warm memories of and gratitude to Dr. Satcher for his leadership as president of Meharry Medical College, one of the historically Black colleges and universities that has and continues to graduate significant numbers of physicians from underrepresented groups. Perhaps his most important service was as a long-term caregiver to his amazing and talented wife, Nola, who passed away in 2019 after nearly 20 years with Alzheimer's. In an interview, he stated, "Still, it's very overwhelming physically and emotionally to watch someone you love disappear in front of your eyes." And I know we'll all say amen to that. Dr. Satcher has long been an active voice in the Alzheimer's crisis. After serving as Surgeon General, he helped author the 2009 Alzheimer's Study Group report, which was expected to be a wake-up call for America to start investing more research dollars to combat Alzheimer's. In 2013, Dr. Satcher helped found African Americans Against Alzheimer's as part of the Us Against Alzheimer's network. His career and life show a public health leader deeply committed to recognizing and advocating for health equity and civil rights. Congratulations, Dr. Satcher.
Dr. Satcher, congratulations on tonight's well-deserved award. It's right between us here.
Thank you very much.
Your career and leadership span 50 years of public service. I've read your book, My Quest for Equity, Learning While Leading While Learning. I want to know, and I'd like you to share with the audience, where your persistent passion and quest for health equity comes from.
Well, I think it goes way back to a farm in Alabama, 40-acre farmland, where I had 8 siblings, and neither of my parents finished elementary school, but they were great parents. They insisted that we stay in school, and I learned a lot from them and have great appreciation. But in addition to that, I was very ill as a child. I suffered from whooping cough, and a Black physician, the only Black physician in Anniston, came out to the farm to see me. He didn't think I was going to survive, and he told my parents that, but he did everything he could to make my survival possible. Well, as you know, I did survive, and I'm grateful for that. I've never taken that for granted, and I've always wanted to do good things for other people.
Dr. Satcher, do you think that the racial and ethnic disparities that we've witnessed and been challenged by during COVID teach us anything about how to address disparities in diseases like Alzheimer's?
Well, the first thing it does, I think, is to teach us the importance of addressing disparities, because I think the virus, in this case COVID-19, targets disparities. I mean, if you're more likely to have obesity, hypertension, diabetes, then the virus is going to attack at that point of weakness. So I think it teaches us a lot about the importance of being serious about eliminating disparities in health.
If we had taken your advice in 2000 about social determinants of health, what would the landscape look like today?
Well, if you had taken my advice, I don't know what it would look like, but I think it would be much better. I think it was an opportunity for us to early on mount a major attack against disparities in health. And by the way, disparities in health impact all of us, regardless of race or ethnicity. So we all have to be committed to eliminating disparities in health.
And David, the Alzheimer's journey has been very personal for both of us. We've both lost our spouses, cared for them for many, many years. Are there any personal reflections, both as a husband and as a public health leader, that you're willing to share with us and share it with the audience?
Well, I have very important personal reflections. My wife, Nola, who died of Alzheimer's 2.5 years ago, was a beautiful person. She was a great poet, and I enjoyed reading and hearing her recite her poetry. And yet she was a victim of Alzheimer's. So was her mother. So I learned a lot about Alzheimer's from Nola. And she had a very, very positive attitude, and one that I will always appreciate. But she had Alzheimer's, and so I also watched what can happen to a person with Alzheimer's over the years.
We've both watched over those years. Is there a moment in time that you'll hold? Was there ever recognition or ever lose recognition of who you were?
Well, it was very near the end before she lost recognition. I have memories of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know that feeling.
giving her a glass of warm milk, which she enjoyed. But I have great memories of that. But they were also painful. They were very painful memories. But we got through them together, and until she passed.
Your wife, Nola, was a respected and published poet, and you've given me permission to read one of her favorite poems. Her favorite poem was, "But I've never been here before. I've loved before, I've cried before, I've laughed and ached and died before, and thought I'd found happiness, but I've never been here before. And if I should lose you, since time rearranges, I'll always remember our love and exchanges, but I've never been here before." Those opening lines just resonate so with this audience on so many levels, David. How does her sensibility inspire you today with what you do?
Well, I'm very committed to our efforts to eliminate Alzheimer's disease and to help individuals and families who are struggling with Alzheimer's. I feel grateful that I was able to bring as much comfort to Nola as I did, but I also realized that it's not a good way for anyone to live or die. So I've always wanted to do something to create a new environment and even ultimately new outcomes for people with Alzheimer's.
Now, you also lead the Morehouse School of Leadership. Can you contrast your leadership style with George Braden's leadership style? What do you have in common?
Well, George Vradenburg is great. I've enjoyed working with him. I knew Trish for a while before she passed. It's a great, great couple, great family. And so the only thing I can say is that I haven't worked with anyone who used his personal resources in a way that George Vradenburg does. And I will always be grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for the opportunity to work with him and with you and others who are committed to this struggle.
It's part of our DNA.
Yes.
Can't stop us now.
Yeah.
And now you see why Dr. David Satcher is being honored tonight with the Bee Learner of Valor Award. Thank you, Dr. Satcher, for bringing leadership, wisdom, and that personal passion to the cause. Thank you. And now, over to my friend out in LA, Lisa. Take it away.
Hi, Meryl. That was really wonderful. I enjoyed those remarks, and congratulations. That's so special. I know you agree with me. This is all just special, isn't it? What a powerful event. Really glad you're here with us. And doesn't it make you feel good to hear these stories and to know we're making progress? So inspiring to see all these amazing people and the progress with the programs that are helping us fight Alzheimer's. Families are finally getting the knowledge and the tools that they need for new hope, for healthier brains, for greater equity and louder advocacy. This work is so important, not just for those of us here today, but what we're doing is building a world for tomorrow that will be free from this terrible disease. We have the audacity not only to imagine that, but to believe that it is inevitable. And we've got the strength, the love, and the resolve to go out and make it happen. Now, look, we know it's a long journey. There's no denying that it can be sometimes difficult, often discouraging. That's why we need nights like tonight. That's why we need to stay connected and inspired and hopeful, so we can celebrate what we've achieved, even as we turn to the challenges that are ahead of us. Now, for me, hearing from young advocates is always the thing that impresses me the most. It gives me the most faith in our future. So we've gathered up some of them so you can see how they are changing things. Watch.
Hi, I'm Natalie Vexler.
I'm Max Vexler, and I'm 15 years old.
I'm 13. During the pandemic, we started a business called Party or Patio to give us a creative outlet during such a hard time. It was a great way to bring celebrations and smiles to everyone's faces.
Brought a little bit of positivity into the community when it was such a dark time. We decided to donate 10% of all of our earnings to Us Against Alzheimer's. We have a connection to the Alzheimer's, and our great aunt Lisa suffered from early onset Alzheimer's and just recently passed. And now our abuela Titi is experiencing early stages of Alzheimer's, so it runs in our family.
When it's running in your family, you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, working your mind and being active, which will help you in the future. We both play sports and we go on walks and we read, which keeps your mind active, and just being outside, eating healthy, trying to treat yourself with care will help you in the future.
When people hear that we're donating money to Us Against Alzheimer's, oftentimes people with connections to Alzheimer's will reach out and will basically tell us a little bit about their story and tell us a little bit about their connection. They appreciate what we're doing and that it's so good that, that there's someone in the community doing this.
Aren't they great? They get it. They know that millions of people face this challenge every day, all across the country, all over the world. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's someone you love. This is not easy, but I know this, it's worth it. And that's why all of us are here tonight, because telling the stories of people with Alzheimer's is the only way to help heal. It is the best way to honor their memories. My mom and my grandmom both had Alzheimer's disease. And as a caregiver, it meant everything to me. It meant the world to me to be able to share our family story. So we are making great progress, but we don't have it done yet. What we can do right now is do what we're doing tonight. We can join together. We can raise our voices. We have to call for change. Hearing that message is so immensely important for so many families who feel very much alone right now. So we want to reach out to those families. We want to lift them up. We want to invite them into our bold vision for a future without Alzheimer's. So how do we accelerate that change? During my time at Entertainment Tonight and during my talk show, I spent years and years interviewing the leading names in film, on television, in music, and in the arts. And I saw something incredible. See, when artists and the media begin to speak up about a cause, that cause takes off. It becomes a part of the mainstream, the national conversation. Well, that's happening big time right now for us with Alzheimer's. In just the past few years, we've seen the strength of families facing Alzheimer's portrayed in movies like The Father, in books like Still Alice, and TV shows like This Is Us. The biggest names in Hollywood, literature, and theater are standing up. They're speaking out against Alzheimer's. It's really making a big difference. So as we get ready to wrap things up with you, we want to hear from a few more of these top advocates, and we want to start off with one of everybody's favorite legends.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very honored that you asked me to be part of the Us Against Alzheimer's team tonight to speak about my film Here Today, in which I play a man named Charlie Burns, who is a veteran comedy writer who is dealing with the onset of dementia. In Charlie's life, his words were his currency, and he's starting to go broke. When my co-writer and I started writing the film, it was actually inspired by an actual event in Alan Zweibel's life. And we thought we were going to take that experience, which is the opening scene in the film with myself and Tiffany Haddish, which is this auction luncheon from hell where she only pays $22 to have lunch with him, doesn't know who he is. She stole somebody's ticket to do it, and then she ends up having an allergic reaction to the seafood salad. She has no insurance. He has to get an ambulance. It ends up that this charity luncheon costs him $3,200. And when I heard this story, which he told on the David Letterman show, I immediately started writing him and saying, this is the beginning of something. Who are these two people? If you want to continue it, this might be a really interesting May-September kind of relationship. So when we started creating the characters, we thought, all right, here we go. Who is Charlie? And Alan and I both worked with an older writer at Saturday Night Live who we both admired a great deal. His name was Herb Sargent. And when Saturday Night Live was first conceived, Herb was already in his 50s, and obviously nobody else was. And then when I came to do the show in 1984 and 85, I also found myself looking up to Herb as basically the final word or in any sketches, and he'd help shape, and he was just a really lovely man. And so we thought, all right, that's who he is as a prototype. But then I thought, well, he needs a complication. What could be the complication for somebody? And then I thought of my Aunt Deborah, who was a brilliant novelist. She wrote 7 books, and she was also a book editor for the Book of the Month Club. And one day she came to me and she said, I think I'm losing my words. And so my wife Janice and I became her medical proxy, and the loss of her words increased. And we were able to guide her remaining years with humor and dignity, and surrounding her with things that she loved, music, books, and always keeping her engaged as this deadly disease progressed. So we decided if we could give Charlie that problem, but in a movie, he's dealing with it. He's taking care of himself. He continues working on the show. He gets exercise. We see him playing tennis with his son. He eats the right foods, he tells his nutritionist, his neurologist. And we could create a positive image for what so many consider the old person's disease, because it's not. Here Today also deals with the relationship between Charlie and a younger person who enters his life and becomes his friend and ultimately his caregiver. And Tiffany Haddish brilliantly plays Emma Page, who recognizes that he needs her and that she also needs to help him. So in writing Here Today, we respected the disease and the family and the friends who have to deal with a loved one who has it. I'm very proud of this movie because we took a serious subject and treated it with honesty, humor, and sadness, but most importantly, empathy, something that is sorely missing in our world today. Yes, we are living with a pandemic, but we are also living with an epidemic. Every minute of every day, someone in America is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It has no cure. So I applaud you and the great work that all of you are doing. Someday, hopefully, we'll all be able to be together, and it won't be on Zoom. We won't be wearing masks, and we will be celebrating the victory over this deadly enemy. So God bless all of you, and thanks for inviting me.
When my mom Adele was diagnosed with Alzheimer's when she was 55, Seth and I were just 25 years old. We never expected at that point in our lives to be managing the devastating decline of a parent.
So we did what we knew best. We turned to comedy and entertainment to bring light to Alzheimer's for young caregivers like us who needed support.
We also set out to share what we've learned about brain health in interesting and fun ways.
I took on my alter ego as Professor Seth Rogen, and I created coursework which teaches young people that Alzheimer's actually begins in the brain up to 20 to 30 years before the onset of symptoms, and there is no better time than now to start building a more Alzheimer's-resistant brain.
My grounding for my experience with my father that ended up being 10 years was my belief that his soul could not have Alzheimer's. And that enabled me to look beyond the disease, to look through the disease, not in the sense of denial, not ignoring the symptoms that were there or refusing to deal with the symptoms that were there. You can do both. You can deal with the disease, you can deal with the cognitive decline and all of the difficulties that come up, and still remember that there is a soul in there. There is a human being in there that I don't believe Alzheimer's can touch.
I know that the combination of commitment and dollars is really our best hope for ending the disease and ending the stigma around the disease. And I'm also really heartened by the way the arts community is getting behind the kinds of enterprises that your organization is engaged in to support research and education and other things that are so essential to the Alzheimer's fight. So mostly I just want to say thank you.
It's not just enough to know something about Alzheimer's. I know you all know something about Alzheimer's. You've got to feel something about Alzheimer's. And to feel something about Alzheimer's, you have to know someone who has it, or you have to know a story. And so for you all out there who know Alzheimer's, who feel something about Alzheimer's, tell your stories. This is how we're going to get more and more people to care about this disease, to really feel something about it. And the more people who care about this disease, who make it a priority, the more we're going to see collaborations, a galvanized world committed to ending this disease. This isn't false hope. This isn't Pollyanna rose-colored glasses. I've been in this game for a while, and this is the most exciting, most hopeful moment we've seen in a very real way. And I'm texting with George Vradenburg yesterday, and he's sending me what you all are up to with respect to gathering the world's most badass researchers, resources, minds across the globe to kick this disease's ass. We can do this. We can do this, and we have to.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope that you enjoyed the evening, saw some familiar faces, and came away with energy and enthusiasm for the path ahead. Let's end with a toast. Jill, Meryl, Lisa, join me. Here's to hope, to action, and most important to all of you, the people making it happen. Lisa, thanks for hosting as well. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for your voice. Next year, let's hope we can all be together in person. See you in 2022. Good night.
Cheers. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.